Lasagna is good. Any way you get it, but my mother's was great. You mean which? Best 30 seconds of my life. You mean in film? Is that it? To say in one word who I am, I've been. It's a mystery. The individual voice I must say, can express itself on TikTok or can express itself in a 4-hour film or a 2-hour miniseries.
Who doesn't love a little bit of Marty? Martin Scorsese was honoured at the Berlin Film Festival this week, where he received an honorary Golden Bear. So well deserved. He spoke about a lot of stuff there, including is cinema dead? What his plans are for this new movie about Jesus, his visit with the Pope, and this very strange moment happened. Take a look.
I can do a perfect Nicholson. Only 10 seconds. The line, there's like 3 lines. Yeah.
Are you saying, was it improvised? The scene?
Yeah, but I can do the scene and
you
then
can do the whole scene. One, two, scene.
Yeah.
One, two, scene.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, but it's really good.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
You will allow it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sorry.
What do you got?
When I tell you to them the body in the marsh, you dump him in the marsh. Not from a John Hancock bar where a guy has to get a fucking blowjob.
That's right.
Don't laugh. This ain't reality TV.
That's right. Because he told him to bury the body.
Yeah.
Not with some guy. Exactly.
He just wouldn't stop talking. It was like, okay, mate, you've said your question and you've done your audition. Now stop.
Okay, thank you.
I know he didn't win. I know.
Martin is so cool because somebody else may have looked at him and thought, what is this guy doing? And the strange thing for me, by the way, is that I've been watching a lot of the Berlin Film Festival, and I've noticed that this particular journalist jumps up every single time and tries to be a little bit controversial or a little bit out there. And I think earlier on in the festival, he upset Sebastian Stan by referring to the character that Sebastian plays as a beast. So I don't know if this is all premeditated, but again, the fact that Marty played along and didn't kind of look at him like, stop, you're talking too much, I thought was really lovely because it shows he's a cool dude. Right, listen, Martin Scorsese deserves every honour he receives. I'm Max, this is Flip Your Wig. I had the opportunity to chat to him at the London Film Festival last year, and he was just really charming, and he loves cinema.
People say, Marty, the whole world's going to die. And I say, I know, but we're heading towards the sun, or we're heading towards the moon or something. And so, in the meantime, we're all here. So let's communicate.
Yes.
Let's communicate through art. Initially, we looked for films that influenced us, and that's myself and let's say Brian De Palma or Steven Spielberg, Paul Schrader, that whole group that we grew up together. My friend Jay Cox, all of us was a small group that we had back in 1971, 72, and 73 before we all started really making movies. And so we would always ask about a certain film. Did you see that? Have you seen this? And we would look for copies. And we found that it was a great difficulty finding good copies of these films. But primarily, once we saw a copy, or even if we hadn't seen it, there was still something, a mystique about the film or about who the people were who made the film, all of this sort of thing, which would be revealed, which would be discussed tomorrow, for example, in the Powell and Pressburger film that we put together finally, David Hinton directed. And so there's this magic of a discovery, always discovering something new in art, in cinema as art, you know. And as I say, it could be a John Ford film, or it could be a film by anyone from Sajid Ray. Like, for example, the first films that I saw of India were on television, and they were basically it was Pate Panchali, dubbed in English with commercials in New York. It was great. It was great, and I realized that I always tell the story. I realized, having been a real lover of, I was about 10 years old when I saw The River by Jean Renoir, My father took me to see it, and I love that film, and I love Renoir. And yet, when I saw the Sergeant Ray, I realized that the people in Renoir's film or in other films made by English or French and Americans, the people in Pate Panchali were the people you usually see in the background of the other films. You follow? And I began to wait a minute, this is very interesting. They're living in this village in the middle of what may be called a jungle of some kind, and yet these are people who really, there's no difference between us. And so as a young person, that opened the world to me, because my parents were, they were literate, but they didn't have books in the house. There were no books. I had to bring in my own books, and really a lot came through seeing foreign films, or the French, certainly Italian films immediately when I was 5 years old, the neorealist films. But, there's a big difference between the Italian film and Sergeant Ray, and then Ugetsu by Mizoguchi, which I also saw on television, dubbed in English.
With commercials?
With commercials. And it still was great. And then there was Kurosawa, So all this was opening up. And the idea was if it affected me, a kid who came from a neighborhood where the parents weren't intellectuals and didn't read books and that, maybe, similar kids around the world might see a film and be affected by it. And they may not make films or anything, but they could change their lives. And so I became very sad to realize, of course, the impermanence of life, as we all know. But does it have to be that impermanent so soon? Since I'm 81, time is an issue. In that, where I devote the time to look at a film, I need to really select that and decide to go there. There's certain new Japanese cinema and Celine Song's Past Lives, Vim's film, Perfect Days. So, I mean, there are other young people whose work that I'm fascinated by. I try to keep up as much as I can, but I find it difficult in terms of following as many as possible. You have 100 years of cinema. You have silent cinema, which is back in effect, although it's only 10% of it. The rest has been destroyed. But what you can see of silent cinema, for the most part, is pretty good now. The restorations. You have films from the 1930s in beautiful condition. You put on TCM anywhere, and you'll see a film that looks like it was made yesterday. You have everything from the 50s. You have it, and plus you have it from all the other countries in the world. So how do you tell a young person where to go, what direction their viewing should take? And at least it's like starting a baby walking in a way. And eventually they'll get the idea, if you put one foot in front of the other and push the earth back, they'll propel forward. But you need to give them that push first. You say, okay, you like Asian cinema. Well, there's Taiwan. Well, there's Indonesia. Well, there's Japan. There's China. There's mainland. There's Hong Kong. All of this has to be focused, I think. And maybe a critic can help that way, you see. What's fashionable dies within a day, in a way. Something else, the value's got to be stronger for you to look at a film 10, 20 years later and say, oh my God, that's still as powerful. Criticism can help focus younger people to concentrate. I was doing location scouting for Killers of the Flower Moon in the middle of Oklahoma, and I am a New Yorker.
That we know, yes.
Yeah. And the middle of Oklahoma is just as it sounds. It's a beautiful place, but I'm in the middle of wide prairies and sky, and there was this house, and we went to this house to look for location scouting, possibly utilizing this person's house, and she was very nice. She was an artist, and she was living in this, two-family house, whatever, a small farmhouse. And she had a son, was about 20 years old, And we were walking through the house. I'm saying, I'm not sure if this is right. I have to look at pictures of the original one. This is 2 years before the film was made. And towards the end of the visit, it was very hot, I remember. The young man asked his mother if we could have a picture taken. She said, do you mind, my son? He likes movies. I said, fine. So we have a picture. And the boy leans into me and leans towards me and says, you help distribute Wojciech House's The Hourglass Sanatorium? I said, yes. We're in the middle of nowhere. He said, oh, I love that film. I said, and have you seen Ashes and Diamonds? Have you seen? Oh, yes, I've seen Ashes and Diamonds. We got all the Polish films. And he said, oh, his mother said, oh, he does this. He and his brother just go there and they bring these films back and they watch them all night. I guess when I was younger, full of even more ego and ambition, the ambition, I guess, you never quite lose that, to be honest. The ego, I guess you never quite lose it either. You try to. You try to because it gets in the way sometimes. And so the more I believed people telling me such things, I think the more it hurt me. So I had to push that away. I had to say, you don't know. And I think it happened on King of Comedy. It's when I realized I was free. I didn't know anything anymore. I put it all into Raging Bull, then Taxi in New York, and then Last Waltz. And I said, I don't know anything. Meaning, I'm free now to rethink everything. Where's the camera aimed? Where's the camera placement? What is this character doing in the frame? Story, yes. Character, yes. But in how to tell a story with pictures, I had to start all over again. And I find that's happened, thankfully, gratefully, a number of times in my life where even The Irishman, I had to stop and say, no, wait a minute. I don't want to I don't want to move the camera here. I don't want to cut in here. I just want to do this or I want to do that. Well, what do we need for an establishing shot of a car driving up? Then it has to be rhythm. It has to be music. It just can't be a car driving up. You see, in other words, otherwise it becomes something that is ordinary. And so every frame in it, even though it's a lengthy film, every frame was thought of in a different way. And a lot of it is demanded by the nature of the characters of the film, the actors, he or she in the frame. But primarily that thing of freeing yourself from restraint of what and how something should be or has to be, doesn't have to be. Once you get to that, it's great because your biggest problem then is yourself. You have to deal with who you are, you see, and then that has to come out in artistic terms. And that happens almost every time in the past 10 or 15 years, whether it's a crazy mosaic like Wolf of Wall Street, or it's in 3D like Hugo, or it's Irishman, or it's Killers of the Flower Moon, or Silence even. I don't think it's dying at all, no. I think it's transforming. It never was meant to be one thing. We were used to it being one thing. You know, I mean, I grew up as one thing. If you want to see a movie, you went to a theater. A good theater or a bad theater, but it was a theater. It was always a communal experience. Festivals gave you indication of what other movements were around the world, how the world was expressing itself in cinema. Also history lessons or cultural lessons. But, you know, the technology's changed so rapidly and it's changed so exhaustively and rapidly. It keeps changing that, in a sense, the only thing they could really hold on to is, again, the individual voice. I don't think we should let the technology scare us. I think you don't become a slave to technology. Let us control the technology and put it in the right direction. The right direction being from the individual voice rather than, again, something which is just consumed and tossed away. The reality was, what's in the frame for how long? And what is it telling us, the viewer? And then if one frame is ambiguous, when that frame is cut to another frame and another frame, the three frames say something else. I'm talking theoretically, but it's very, very... like a piece of music. You know when it's right. You feel, they say, the vibe, you know, the vibe. And I found that the precision that you need, or I should say the discipline that you need to be able to control that frame, and the information in that frame is lessened every time. The possibilities of making a film and the concept of Jesus, the idea of Jesus, really stems from my background growing up in the Lower East Side, my interest in Catholicism, in the priesthood, which really led, I think, ultimately to the film Silence. And that particular film was viewed by the Vatican, and so I met the Pope a couple of times based on that. And he also called for, at one point in a meeting, talked about fresher ways of thinking about the essentials of Christianity, the essentials of it. I'm always interested in that. As far as making a film on it, I'm contemplating it right now. What kind of film, I'm not quite sure, but I want to make something unique and different that could be thought-provoking and I hope also entertaining. I'm not quite sure yet how to go about it, but once we finish our rounds here of promoting the film, maybe I'll get some sleep and then wake up and I'll have this fresh idea of how to do it. But I'm not sure. But the connection has been because of the Jesuit missionaries in Japan in the 17th century, and I believe His Holiness the Pope is Jesuit.
His film Killers of the Flower Moon is up for 10 Oscars, keeping everything crossed for him. Although I don't think he really cares about awards. He just continues to do what he does, and he does it really well. Let me know your thoughts on Martin Scorsese. Also, this Jesus film that he's making, it's going to be a little bit contentious, definitely. Anything to do with religion tends to be. But Martin Scorsese is one of those powerful, unapologetic, fearless filmmakers. And I think at 81, he clearly is really passionate about this story, and he only seems to make things that he really, really cares about, and also that leaves a wider discussion within society. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing this happen, so I hope it happens. Leave a comment, turn your notifications on so you don't miss a video. I'm Max, and this is Flip Your Wig.
Remember when Mick Jagger, remember what he said? He said,
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. He was right. He said, Shine a Light is the only film
Yes.
that I have not put Gimme Shelter in.
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm
I
telling
remember.
you, I had some dental work done recently, and they put me out for it. I was, under. And apparently the dentist was listening to Gimme Shelter. It worked.
So do you consider making another film with the Rolling Stones?
I would love to, but who knows?